This is Mike Mercier with Screen Education. And last August, we launched a new seminar titled Working Around the News Media to Find the Truth. And the whole premise for the seminar, excuse me, is this whole notion that um, the mainstream media has basically divided the country along political lines. So they basically know that they have captive audiences. In other words, the liberal outlets know that um, their viewers don't take in news media from the right, right? And then the conservative news outlets know that for the most part, their audiences don't take in news media from the left. So they know that there's a strict divide. And as a result, what they do is they play us against each other. So they basically use a combination of um, some facts, a lot of fabrications, distortions, um, smears, and they combine that all into a news narrative, right? And what we'll usually find is that the news narratives um, from each side, left and right, on a given story, are diametrically opposed. So they literally say the opposite of the other. So an example would be last year, after George Floyd was murdered. Um, the left was reporting continuously on the peaceful George Floyd protests, and the right was reporting on the violent, murderous George Floyd riots. Right. We see that with Hunter Biden's laptop. The left was reporting um, that the intelligence services said that they believed it was Russian disinformation, and on the right, they were assuming it was real, and they were given that assumption of reporting on what they were saying were crimes that were found having been committed through evidence on the laptop. Right. We see it again with you know the the Mueller report. The left was saying that Mueller concluded that Trump colluded with Russia to impact the election. The right was saying the Mueller report said that he didn't do that, right? And I could go on, but you get the point, right? So the whole idea is that the country needs to wake up and understand that we're being manipulated and divided. And the whole point with this seminar is to say strategically, if we want to stop the craziness that the media is creating, it's the media that's creating the craziness by doing this, by manipulating us and dividing us into these camps where we have different views of reality, right? So the whole point of the seminar is to say we have to take responsibility to get around this, and the only way we can do that, the only way we can get to the truth, is to make it a daily habit to take in news from both sides. And what we'll find is if we take in news from both sides, from left and right, okay, what we'll find is that we're going to identify the discrepancies. We're going to see where one side says one thing and the other side says another. And that's going to force us into a process of inquiry, right? To resolve the discrepancy and see which side is telling the truth. Okay. We can't go on assuming that our side is telling the truth. We have to take responsibility for ourselves to dig into this. Okay. Because we're not doing this, what's happening is we can't have a conversation, right? In 2018, Barack Obama said, he said it in a few different ways, different quotes, but he basically said, if you're reading the New York Times, right, you have a completely different view of reality than someone who's watching Fox News, and it's absolutely true, right? And Obama said he'd watch Fox News and he would not recognize the president that they were describing, meaning himself, right? He didn't know who this person was. So I'm not taking sides here, and I'm not, because I've actually been taking in news from both sides for about 10 to 12 years. Okay. Um, and it's really changed me completely doing that. All right. So that's one of the points of the seminar, is to walk people through why they have to do this, why they have to engage in this practice, and do it sincerely. You have to do it sincerely, okay, without blaming one side or the other. Just be objective about it. Take in news from both sides. When you see a discrepancy, try to resolve it, okay, and resolve it by finding real evidence, going beyond just the empty claim, the baseless claim, and looking for evidence. All right, what we call primary sources. Okay, so for example, with the Mueller report, right? If if the left is saying that Mueller concluded that there was collusion, and the right saying Mueller concluded there isn't collusion, what can we do to resolve the discrepancy? We can look at the Mueller report. And actually, on that one issue, all you have to do is look at the executive summary to find the truth. You know, that's a very simple process. Google Mueller report, find the PDF. There are several credible sources. NPR had a version on their website. I think it's still available. Open it up and read the executive summary. Um, the other point that we make in the seminar is what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, because it's gotten so extreme, especially since Trump entered office in 2016. The divide became so extreme, and the rhetoric on each side, right? The dichotomy escalated exponentially. Um, because of this, what ended up happening is a lot of independent media sites on the left and the right and in the middle, okay, emerged to fill the truth gap. So we had independent media sites that were not corporate owned, as well as citizen journalists, and I actually found that they were telling the truth more often, far more often than the corporate media. And there are some citizen journalists who did some phenomenal work in that time, getting the truth out. So another component of the seminar is giving people insights on how to be what I call a media activist, a news media activist, and that is taking responsibility yourself and contacting journalists and their expert guests whenever they say something that is not true, or that's a distortion or a smear, okay, or that's not backed up by facts. So the seminar also walks through how to approach doing this and how to get in touch with them, the way to approach, frame your arguments, things like that. So that's it, and I'll be posting more videos with more insights from the seminar.